Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back to the West Texas View. I'm Johnny Lou Avery, and Tom Hardy is our guest. He has written a wonderful new book called Slow Moving Dreams, and it's all about West Texas. Every town that he, or every landmark that he talks about in this book, you're going to say, I've been there. I used to live there. I lived around the corner. So you're going to have a copy of this book. But before we get to where you can get a copy of the book, tell us a little bit about your how you put it down on paper and where you got it published.
It's an interesting question. This is a story that I've always kind of had inside me of the way we were raised. We all have stories of our childhood and our family and growing up, and most of us wish we could tell that story. We want to tell that story, but we're not quite sure how to tell the story. So this story's been bouncing around in my mind ever since I was a kid. My first book was more of a thing that just when I left coaching, I said I want to tell about it now. So I wrote the book and it was published and I walked away from it. This is more personal, and it was really harder to write because it was so personal. And so I've been working on it off and on for, 15 years until I got it to the point where I was ready to publish it and show it to a publisher. It's published by TCU Press, TCU Press is a small academic press, but they're pretty prestigious ones, and one of the reasons that I approached them is that they were the publisher of Elmer Kelton's books. Elmer Kelton was a great West Texas author and was raised over in Crane and San Angelo, and I always admired his books, loved them, couldn't wait till another story about the Good Old Boys came out. And TCU published his books, and I thought, gosh, if they're good enough for Elmer Kelton, they're good enough for me. And they publish books about Texas and you know, different parts of Texas. So I approached them about it, and they were interested in it. And it took us, about 2 years to get it ready. It's interesting. The publishing business has changed a lot.
It's changing a lot.
Well, my first book, 20 years ago, I sold it to a large New York publishing house. And they pretty much did everything. They did all the editing, they did the PR work, and you know they took charge and did it.
Designed the cover, told you what it was
did everything.
Be like.
You know, and then this time I've discovered that publishing houses, because of the tough economy, number one, they're not publishing as many books, but they've downloaded a lot of those processes to the author and to the author agents, and they expect you to have a edited work when you get there, and so. Authors' agents are now more editors than they are agents, working on getting the books together. And then, like I said, it's changed so much. They've downloaded so much. The interesting thing about the cover, the cover on my first book, I didn't like the cover on my first book at all. And so I thought, well, when I go to TCU, they're going to have this cheesy cover that I'm not going to like. And so I was all prepared to fight them. In my mind, I had visioned a nice picture of West Texas in a ranch house out there, and I went up there prepared to fight, and I was gritting my teeth, and enamel was flaking off and sat down at the table, and they came out and laid this, here's what we think for the cover, and I looked at it and said,
perfect.
Oh, okay, meeting's over. So I'm really thrilled with the cover they came out with. It really capture the essence.
Because this could be anywhere from Abilene to El
anywhere
Paso.
from Abilene to El Paso, and it really captures, you know, the wide open, the land. You know, one of the things I talk about in the book is how the land, the wide open spaces and the open skies, it grows on you, and you can never quite get away.
You feel claustrophobic when you get anywhere else.
When I go to East Texas, for example, and you're driving down the road and there's pine trees on both sides of the road so thick that you feel like you're driving through a tunnel, you know, and then you come out here and you can see for miles and miles and miles. So it's a different feeling. But at any rate, I love the cover that TCU came up with. But in terms of acquiring the book, there's several of the Texas colleges and universities and state agencies have a consortium that publishes books, and Texas A&M Press actually is the front for that. So you can get it from TAMU Press, Texas A&M University Press, or you can get it at Barnes & Noble, or you can get it for Amazon. The books are slowly coming out, so there may not be a copy in the store, but you can order one. The store can order one from you, or you can go online and get one from BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com.
And one of the reasons is this is a brand new book.
It is a brand new book.
Been out long enough for all of the stores to be fully stocked, and that's one of the reasons that we put my email and Tom's email on there, is so that if you're really eager to get one as quickly as possible, you can call. You can email me or Tom, and we'll get more information to you. But go to the local Barnes and Williams, and they will make sure you get a book ordered if they don't have one in stock. It's Slow Moving Dreams, and it's a novel. It's not autobiographical, but it could be.
It's based on experiences I had as a child, and in large measure, and then experiences of people that I knew. For example, the cowboy funeral that's in the book, that actually occurred in Fort Stockton. A good friend of mine was a cowboy, and he was killed in an accident, and they actually had a cowboy funeral where they drove him out to the East Hill Cemetery in an old wagon
and buried him in a pine box.
Buried him in a pine box. And they had a wake for him at the cowboy bar and put his hat up on the bar, and I thought, that is the neatest thing. I've got to get that in a story sometime.
And saying, don't let your...
Yeah, saying mamas don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys, you know, and saying the what's the Cowboy's Lament at the funeral. It was just really, when I first went, I thought this is going to be so cheesy. And got into it, and I said, this is so touching, you know. I said, this is the most marvelous thing.
You know, it was almost as I was reading that, Amarillo Morning, Amarillo by Morning was just written for this.
Yeah, it was. It sure appeared that way, didn't it?
And then my heroes have always been cowboys.
Well, the title comes from Willie Nelson's song, "The Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys," and one of the last lines is talking about the cowboys and one step in back of their slow-moving dreams.
Oh.
And you know, in the book, the characters talk about how, you know, we recognize our dreams, realize our dreams at a slower pace than some places. It may take us more time, but that's okay, because they kind of slow down. I think it has to do with the land and the seasons. In West Texas, so much revolves around the seasons and the land that you know, it's not based on the 12-hour clock, you know, and it's not based on that. So
we got to wait for the crops to grow.
We've got to wait, you know, wait for things to happen, wait for it to be the right season, wait for, you know, and wait for rain. So things move at a much slower pace, and I just love that title, Slow Moving Dreams. That defines the people I grew up with.
It's been such a treat to have Tom Hardy here with us, and remember, Tom Hardy, Slow Moving Dreams, Barnes & Noble, or contact me or him. We look forward to our next visit when he comes out for another class reunion. We didn't even get into the class reunion part. We'll see you next week with another show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for joining us for News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery. This has been a public affairs presentation of KWAB-TV and KWES-TV.